one of the crown jewels, if you will, of our program is the whole aspect of mentoring, the whole process of mentoring. And I'm giving credit to actually Catherine Mossop, is one of the original founders of the program with me. She is a Bishop's alumni, my vintage. And in fact, she runs a mentoring program and she builds mentoring programs for organizations. So in fact, a lot of the material in this particular segment comes from Catherine, and I want to make sure I give full credit to Catherine. So mentoring is a guided process of trying to help you to discover yourself, to learn about yourself. And I've got two great quotes here. Winston Churchill, who said, "You make a living by what you get, but we make a life by what we give." And mentoring is really a gift, a giving, of sharing experience and ideas and context for things. And we'll talk more about that. And the second one is from Booker T. Washington. So there are two ways of exerting one's strength. One is pushing up and the other is pushing down. One is pushing down and the other is pulling up. I should get my words straight. So that's important. So we're going to talk a little bit about mentoring. What is mentoring? We're going to talk about the difference between coaching and mentoring and what that continuum is. We're going to talk about some of the essentials of mentoring. And then what are some of the things that mentors do, that your mentor will do with you. And also, if we're not going to be able to practice any techniques tonight, but you have that in your materials here. And we're going to talk for a minute about the mentoring contract, which is actually at the back of your workbook. So that's something that you will want to do with your mentor. So very quickly, the difference between coaching and mentoring, and I refer often to mentoring when I'm talking to people as almost grandparenting. So it's a lot more listening and guiding as opposed to trying to correct performance. So coaching is more trying to coach for skills, for performance, for trying to improve performance, trying to build skills. Whereas mentoring is more about the whole person. It's not about trying to fix or address one particular thing, like a coach will work with an athlete to improve performance in a particular area. Mentoring is trying to get to know and understand the whole person and trying to work with that. Coaching can be very finite and it's very concrete. It's very specific. And it can be around roles, it can be about competencies, whereas mentoring is more about exploring issues, concerns, trying to work through things. Coaching, again, primarily would be short-term because you're trying to fix a thing. So you're not going to try to coach that thing for forever. You're trying to coach to get an improvement in the performance or the skill. Once that's learned, you move on to something else. Mentoring is sort of a longer-term process. And in fact, we have in the program, actually Caitlin and Betty have been working together for 5 years. They've been protege and mentor, and there are others in the program as well who've been working together for quite some time. So really there's an evolution to the mentoring conversation. In fact, it starts by getting to know the person. So what you'll find as you're working with your mentor, that you're really going to start by getting to know each other. Who are you? What have you done? Are you at grad school? Are you working now? Tell me about your family. So it's really discovering the person, really trying to get to know each other. Then you're gradually, through your discussions as you get to know each other, you're really starting to move more into instructional conversation. And the instructional conversation, when we talk about that, we're really saying that, you may have an issue you're trying to work through. You may be trying to go for a job, or you have an interview coming up. And so, in fact, you can call up your mentor and say, I've got an interview, I've got 2 interviews. One is with this particular company, and this is what they're looking for. In this particular instance, I'm interviewing for something else, and they're looking for something else. So in that particular situation, you've moved away from the who are you into this is what I'm dealing with. Can you help me? Can you guide me? And so, and that's where your mentor will help set context, can help prepare you. Some of our mentors have looked at resumes, and we're going to talk about that later. Janice has a session on resumes, but you're resolving issues. And gradually over time, and as you see in the middle, there's trust that's being built over time through those discussions. As you work through things, you're building a level and an element of trust. And that will ultimately enable you to have more strategic conversations, which is, what do you want to do? When you're in your first job, what is your longer term career plan? What do you want to be doing in a couple of years from now? We have some mentors. In fact, there's one situation which is a very, very, very special situation where we had a mentor who worked with one of our proteges to come out. And so that didn't happen after the first session or two, but over time after they'd worked together, in fact, this mentor had her own daughter who had come out. So in fact, she was able to work with her protege, and she helped her to come out. And so there's an enormous level of trust to be able to do that kind of a thing. So that's an example of that. So facilitating that process is really a process of learning. It's also the mentor provides context for decision making. So when you're trying to make a decision, a number of the issues and the things and the challenges that you'll be running up against are things that your mentor or perhaps other mentors in the program have been through before. And so in fact, what they will do is they will share with you their experience. They will not direct you, but they will share with you, listen, when I went through something similar to that some years ago, this is what I experienced, this is what I thought about, this is how I worked through it. So they're providing you context. Also, there's an exploration sort of by pulling apart a problem and trying to work through let's take this great big thing that is sort of a problem for you, and let's pull it apart and let's see what are the different elements of this, and let's see how we can tackle the different elements of what you're dealing with. Your mentor will also be a support when you're taking risks. So when you're changing jobs, you may be making a decision to get married, you may be making a decision to go back to grad school. Your mentor will be there and will support you and will provide and help you think through the risks. And what are the risks? How will you try to mitigate them? How will you try to downplay this or manage that? How will you have this discussion with your parents, with your partner, with your boss, and help you to deal with that? Political awareness, that's really important in any organization that you're in, whether it's a business, whether it's an academic setting, or whatever it is. There are always dynamics in politics. And in fact, one of the things that I say about our mentors is that they have life stuck to them, a little bit of life stuck to them. And so that little bit of life is having gone through battles with people, having made mistakes, having learned from those mistakes, and helping you to navigate within your organization those political pitfalls. Because they are everywhere, you will run into them. Unless you're working under a mushroom somewhere, you will run into internal politics, external politics. And in fact, that's one thing that's important to help work through. The other thing is they'll hold up the mirror for you. Sometimes it's easier to work through something when someone is playing it back at you. So that's also something that they're going to push. And they'll challenge you because we all have bad habits and sometimes we can't see them for ourselves, but they'll hold up the mirror for you for the good and also the bad. So if you're trying to work through a thing, say, what did I do wrong? They'll help you to work through that. And they'll point you to resources. I'm not going to go through all of this. You've got this in there, but I think it really starts to identify sort of the different stages. So storytelling, dynamic listening, and then instilling accountability in what you're doing. So again, this is sort of another way of playing back the other model, but through your discussions, through the experiences that you are going through in your work, in your social life, in your in your home life, whatever, you will go through growth. You can't help but grow. And in fact, your mentor is someone who can sit there and, like a grandparent, will listen and encourage you, and may have experience. And we try to put our mentors with proteges in the same background or the same domain. So in fact, you'll have a lot of shared experiences. So everybody can be a mentor, and in fact, we're starting now to take some of our proteges who've been in the program for a number of years. We're trying to move to having peer mentoring. So in addition to having your seasoned mentor, you will also have, through the program, a number of peer mentors. So Caitlin and Mark and David and Emma Stainton and Ali Rowe are all people who've been in the program for a number of years. And they're keen to share some of the experience that they've had and some of the growth that they've had with you as well. So really, mentoring moment is a teachable moment, a learning moment. So that's sort of a unique thing. A mentoring conversation is a broader, in a broader context. And there we're talking about, so this is what's happened here. So how do we take that into, will this happen again? What would you do if that occurs again? So that's that. And then ultimately, that will push and that will grow with your mentoring relationship. So there are things that, say, Joanne and one of her and Robin, who've worked together for 2 or 3 years, would share at this point that they would not have shared when they first started out. Because they've built a relationship, there's a trust, there's a bond. So that's important. So just to get started, how do you get going with your mentor? How do you get started with your protege? Really, talk about their name. What's the significance of their name? Where did their name come from? Who are they and what, when you're interviewing, you can't ask, where did you come from? But you can in a mentoring relationship because you're trying to understand who this person is. And they are the sum of their family, where they've come from, where they want to go, so where they've traveled to. So all of those things are part of the person. Their education, have they completed their education? Do they want to continue their education? Do they want to continue with professional development? Talk about their work and what are they doing now? What have they done? Where do they want to go? You can ask, what defines success? How will you define success for yourself? What does that look like? And how will you know when you've been successful? Talk about also challenges. What are some of the challenges that you're running up against? And what things do you not like to do? And where are you uncomfortable? Because those are areas that you can explore with your mentor. Talk about your interests. What do you like to go to the ballet? Do you love to go to basketball games? These are things you can do together. Also dreams and aspirations. So gradually you're starting to open up. You're peeling back the layers of the onion to find, the individual who's hiding in there. And that's really what your mentor is going to coach you to do. We don't have time to go through this now, but I would suggest you try to do this with your mentor the next time you get together. The other thing that you need to do is you need to set a plan for the next 12 months. So make sure that you know how you can get a hold of each other, set a regular time to meet, try to meet in a place. In Port Taylor, we had our first meeting, and I ended up booking a reservation in a great restaurant I know, but it was so loud and it was so crazy that we didn't have a very good conversation, so we will not repeat that. So when you get together with your mentor, try to find a way, a place and a time that works, that you're not pressed. If you're going to your mentor's office, your mentor should block the time for you so that they won't be interrupted. or you won't be interrupted. And important to keep in mind, because you're trying to build this bond of trust, that you're going to share things with each other that may be confidential. So it's very, very important to keep confidences. You may share things with your mentor that you don't want anyone else to know, and your mentor may say, well, you know what, I've never told anybody this before, but, you know, this is what happened to me in that situation. So it's important to maintain those confidences. And don't be afraid to raise tough issues. Okay? That's important. Don't be afraid to put stuff on the table. Part of being a mentor is that you're not judgmental. It's like your grandparents. No matter what you say to them, no matter what you do, they will love you always. Your mentor may not love you always, but your mentor will be there to support you and to really guide you. So don't be afraid to have those conversations. And also formalize the mentoring contract. So, you know, if things are not working, please step up very quickly and let us know. Both Mark and Lisa Liskavoy and David Polachuk are on the steering committee, and they provide liaison. So protege liaison. They will reach out to you, and they want to make sure that things are working, that you're meeting with your mentor. It's important that you meet. We've had people in the program in the past who have, for whatever reason, not met, and or the mentor is too busy and keeps canceling the meetings. So we need to know about that early so we can do an intervention and fix it. You may decide that the mentor is just not working for you. It's just not going to work out. So as soon as we know, we can try and deal with that. We can get you a new mentor. And your mentor may say, well, you know what, we've also had proteges who have not shown up for meetings, canceled. So the same works both ways. So both Karen Auslander, Suzanne Craig, and I are on the steering committee. From a mentor perspective, if things aren't working, we do mentor liaison, and we'll make sure that we try and address that from both sides. So the other thing you should know about the mentoring program is that we do an annual survey. We really care very much that this program works for you. And so annually, we will do a survey, we'll find out what's working, what's not, and we're constantly trying to improve the program to make it better every year. So with that, I'm going to stop. If you have any questions, this would be a great time to ask. Otherwise, you'll have to wait to the end. No? All right, great. Thank you very much.